Let's face it, the media, your liberal friends on Facebook, and those rioting in the streets want you to stay home on Election Day. They think your voice and even your thoughts are politically incorrect and unacceptable. Prove them wrong and go to 10for20.com now and commit to voting this November 3rd.
Joining me now, Corey Lewandowski, author, two-time New York best-selling author. Now he's got a new book coming out that you want to pre-order that. I ordered, 3 copies, so I'm excited about it. Trump's America First book by Corey Lewandowski, and he's with us now. Senior advisor, Trump Pence 2020. Corey, big rally in New Hampshire on Friday after the president's speech on Thursday night. We were all there, and I heard the New Hampshire rally. You had a huge turnout. A lot of people telling me now you guys are going to win New Hampshire.
Well, John, look, it was an amazing week for the president last week. It started off when we were in North Carolina on Monday. He formally, and you, John, you did the role for the state of Virginia. I did it for New Hampshire. He formally was nominated by us. On Wednesday, we were at Fort McHenry with the vice president, where he gave his nominating speech. On Thursday at the White House with the president, where he gave his phenomenal speech. And then on Friday, I flew with him up to New Hampshire, where he had a rally north of 8,000 people. People were excited to see him, ready to come back. And look, even if you have to listen to the CNN polls, by every metric, by every indicator, we had a phenomenal week last week. We forced Joe Biden out of his basement this week, and he put together some rambling sentence about the coronavirus pandemic, 100 years, people, corona. I had to actually get a translator because I didn't know what he was saying, but that's the pressure that they're under now to try and compete with us.
He's got to get out of the basement finally, but I'm on their press list. So I was reading this yesterday. It's 10:30, and I think Joe Biden went to an elementary school or a middle school or something, which isn't even open. She went there to talk to the teachers that are doing the Zooms, the ones that were there, and so that was at 10:30. It was in Wilmington. Anyway, they send out a notice to the media, and it says, at 11 a.m. there's going to be a lid. See you tomorrow. So I'm thinking, you got 9 weeks before the campaign. You're now losing. You're slipping in every single poll that comes out. You're slipping. It's Tuesday, and the campaign does a 10:30 lid, and they're not going to talk to anybody until tomorrow. Like, what is he doing from 10:30 until the following day when you got 9 weeks remaining? I mean, he's just, reading a novel or something?
Just remember, John, their big announcement last Friday before the president flew up to New Hampshire from the Biden campaign was, we plan on starting to campaign after Labor Day. That was the announcement that they made. With 10 days before Labor Day, their announcement was, we're going to start campaigning 10 days from now. I mean, look, that is malpractice by every political consultant in the country. It's malpractice by his campaign team. Look, if you're going to start campaigning after Labor Day, then just start campaigning after Labor Day. But because we are driving this narrative now, we are in the driver's seat, John. We're driving the message. We're driving this campaign. We have something that we call the big momentum on our side. Look, it's not 9 weeks from yesterday till Election Day. Because of the early balloting in states like North Carolina and others, that's already happening, which tells me they're afraid. They know they're losing. So they're trying to react to what we're doing. They're trying to follow us, and that's perfectly fine. That's what losing campaigns do. They follow. They don't lead. We are driving this. We're winning. The president was on the road yesterday in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He was on the road Friday. Saturday, he was in Louisiana. This guy is a machine, and he is ready to fight. He's ready to ask people for their votes, and he's ready to go out and serve 4 more years.
Let me just ask you something, because I agree with you, Corey. I think the narrative has changed where Trump is now driving it. Biden's in his basement. He's lost control of his mobs. They're not doing what he says. He's trying to get them to stand down. They're not going to do it. They're still burning things down. All the polls are shifting in Trump's direction. So you see him now coming out day after day. Even the fake polls are shifting in his direction. And there was 2 polls out yesterday, one by Zogby and one by Emerson, both with Trump between 14 and 19% of the black vote. Corey, 2016, he got 8%. If Trump gets 16, 18% of the black vote or 20%, like where he's approaching, I mean, this thing turns into a rout. What is going on with that?
John, it's very simple, okay? The African-American community, just like every other community, has seen economic prosperity under the Trump administration. Okay, whether they had the lowest unemployment rate, which they did under the Trump administration ever recorded, whether it's economic empowerment zones, whether it has been criminal justice reform. Not only that, John, but you have to remember, Joe Biden called every African-American male, right, names from the Senate floor. We know that. He had just when he talked to a black reporter, John, he called her a name. This stuff said you weren't black enough if you didn't vote for him. I mean, it's unbelievable, some of the things that this guy's gotten away with over the years. His own running mate called him basically a racist, asked for an apology. Cory Booker asked for an apology, never received it. I mean, it's amazing, John, that people are waking up to the fact that Joe Biden had 47 years to help the black community and has never done a thing for them. So they're looking at Donald Trump's policies, and they're judging him on his record, saying, you know what? This guy cares about us. This guy cares about every American, so let's vote for him. I've always said if Donald Trump gets 15% of the black vote, there is no mathematical formula that allows Joe Biden or any Democrat, for that matter, to win. It does not exist.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, that's where he's headed now. I mean, Zogby had him at 14%. Emerson had him at 19%. We've seen other surveys where he was 17, 18. I didn't really believe them, but now I'm starting to, because one after the other comes out. Plus, I've been saying this all week. Every black leader that I've talked to in the past week has told me the same thing. It's going to be between 15 and 20%. And so we'll see what happens. But, you know, when even the fake polls start telling you it's 12 or 13%, you know that there's definite movement. All right, yesterday, Joe Lockhart, who was the press secretary, I guess, for President Clinton, he's now a CNN contributor, Clown News Network, suggested that President Trump had a stroke or a series of mini strokes based on no evidence. How do you get on TV and say somebody had a stroke that didn't have one and still have a job? Like, explain how this works here, Corey.
Well, John, Joe Lockhart is a total blowhard, okay? This was the guy, if you remember, who defended Bill Clinton during the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Okay, this is the guy who went on TV and said, no, Bill Clinton is the greatest ever, just because he was using a cigar in an inappropriate way. This is the guy who said that Bill Clinton didn't lie under oath. He has no credibility whatsoever. And, of course, you know, this is what he's going to do. But the fact that CNN gives him any type of airtime to say those things, the president's own doctor came out and dissuaded this, but there was no retraction. This is what happens. They know. This is what they do, John. The president's single biggest asset is his strength. He has the stamina of a 20-year-old. You ask any member of the media who's ever traveled with him, you ask any staff members who's ever traveled with him, they will tell you that. So what Joe Lockhart is trying to do is trying to attack the president's stamina by saying, oh, he's not up to this anymore. He's physically not up to the challenge because he's had a stroke, right? It's just ridiculous. If anybody should be concerned about their physical stamina, it's Sleepy Joe Biden. You don't get a name like Sleepy Joe because you're out working hard every day. And so that's what they're trying to do, John. They're trying to attack this president. And look, I look at the Drudge Report and it says Donald Trump drags his left foot. You know, Vice President Pence was told to be on standby from some, you know, New York Times book that's coming out that has no sourcing, no credibility, but they give it news because it's after this president. And look, the truth is, I was with the president 4 days last week. He is a machine. I was with him in New Hampshire. He went on for probably over an hour and 20 minutes up in New Hampshire, just tearing it up. Joe Biden has no stamina whatsoever, and so they want to attack this president. They make up these stories, and Joe Lockhart is a total blowhard. He worked for the NFL, condoned all of the craziness that was going over there before he got fired from there. And you know, once you get fired from, you know, the NFL, I guess you go to CNN.
My goodness. Tell me what you think. I just want to get your opinion on NBA basketball a minute, Corey. You know I'm a 50-year Rockets fan. I'm done watching them. I mean, what do you think about, just sidebar here, because I know you follow this stuff and you're angry at the Red Sox of baseball also. But, I mean, 50 years I'm a Rockets fan. I've never missed a playoff game when they're on TV, the radio, since they came from San Diego in 71. And now I've got players threatening to walk out if the owners don't succumb to a political agenda, not a wage dispute, not a labor argument like they want a bigger percentage of the revenue or the gate or something of that nature, or they, whatever it is, a political agenda. Do this politically or we will walk out on the fans again. And now the ratings are down 23%. I'm out. I'm like the final guy that's just, I've just had it. I've just had it. What is up with it? When is there going to be a real reconciliation for this behavior, Corey, in your judgment?
John, let me tell you, John. I had my boys. We were out having dinner last night. Went to a little barbecue joint, and the Celtics playoff game was on last night. Okay, and my son says, "Hey, Dad, let's watch the game." I said, "I can't do it, boy. I can't. I refuse." He says, "What do you mean?" I said, "I can't support them anymore. Not with watching their television shows, not with buying their merchandise. You know, I can't do it because they chose to get involved in politics. They chose to be something other than just the athlete who wants to go play the game. And look, these are very talented guys. And in their own time, they can do what they want. But I'm not willing to put my hard-earned money that I sacrifice time away from my family for every day in order to go and support a cause that is political in nature. Look, there is a place to protest, and if you want to do that off the court, of course you should have that right. But once you take it onto the court, and once you're asking for people's money to come and support a political cause, you've lost me. You've lost a lot of people in this country. And, John, I tweeted a story yesterday, which may be the most appalling story I think I'd ever seen. There was a local school district where right before a football game, someone brought in a flag that said Blue Lives Matter, a flag, okay? The thin blue line flag is what we call it. And the school has now banned the thin blue line flag at that school because they didn't want to offend anybody, John. Okay? I'm offended by a lot of things, but I'm offended as an American and as a former police officer that you don't allow that school to have the thin blue line flag. You know, if that was a Black Lives Matter flag, John, they would say, hey, no problem, bring it in, everybody has to be heard. It's the hypocrisy. And look, the president called out for what it was. And you know, I'm sure he made a lot of people angry, and I'm paraphrasing what he said. He said, look, these people are bowing to the political pressure. That's what it is. They're bowing to the political pressure to say Black Lives Matter. Why can't we just say all lives matter? I don't understand it, John. Why don't Hispanic lives matter? Why don't Native American lives matter? Why don't everybody's life matter? And it's really troubling. I'm probably going to get in trouble because I always get in trouble. But the truth is, in my house, in my family, I stand with the men and women who serve in uniform to protect us from the evils of society, and that's called the police officers of this great country.
Well, Corey, you yourself were a police officer. So you better than anyone can talk to this with authority. You were a cop, right? So,
John, I'll tell you this, you know, when I went through the academy, John, I went through the police academy in New Hampshire. There's one police academy, whether you're a state trooper, a local, a county officer, it doesn't matter. I went through it with the same men and women, right? Nobody ever said, hey, you know what, when they call 911, let's find out what their socioeconomic status is. Let's find out what their race is. Let's find out what their religion is. Let's find out what their gender is. Let's find out whatever. Nobody ever said that. You know what they did? They put the lights and sirens on, and they showed up because that's what you do when you swear to uphold the law. And it didn't matter. Look, you know, there's tens of thousands, maybe millions of police officers around this great country, okay? And in any occupation, in any profession, you're going to get a percentage of those people who shouldn't be in that occupation, whether they're plumbers or physicians or whatever it is, John. And I don't support those people who don't belong, but I stand with the men and women who I serve with every single day. And when I marched, John, for the officers who are killed in the line of duty, right, it is the most humbling thing of the officers who come out and stand with those other officers who were killed, even if they didn't know them, even if they don't know them. They said, we're going to stand with our brothers and our sisters who are killed in the line of duty. Look, we have an obligation. When I grew up, you grew up to respect the police officers, you know, even if you didn't always agree with them. And believe me, John, I've had my share of tickets. I've had my share of, you know, problems. But the truth is, hey, I respect these people who go out and protect us every day, and I don't understand why they are the ones being disparaged.
Well, when you can't have a flag in a football game, a high school football game, that says Blue Lives Matter, supporting the police, it just the political correctness now is really starting to grate on a lot of people. Up to this point, he's kind of dealt with it. But when you see what the police are going through, Corey, and, look, both of us are in D.C., you see what they go through every day. And they're undermanned, they're understaffed, they're told to stand down, they can't do their job. The best equipment they have been taken from them. And they're in a terrible situation. I mean, I look at D.C. cops now much different than I looked at them when I first got there in 2016 in December. You look at them and you say, well, they're doing their job. Now I look at them and I'm like, wow, you guys are really up against it. I don't think I pass a D.C. cop now or pass by their car without saying something like, hey, thanks for what you do, or I know you're in a tough situation, because they are in D.C. because of this mayor. And by the way, did you see what they came out with the other day? Her committee, they want to take down the Jefferson Memorial and the Washington Monument. Are you kidding me, Corey?
Hey, John, it's called the cancel culture. It's called the cancel culture because, look, they know they're not going to win that argument, but they want to fight that fight so that they are on the offense and we are on the defense. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's what it is. And what really troubled me, as you know, John, Friday was the anniversary, I think, of the Martin Luther King I Had a Dream speech, and they had a big rally in Washington, D.C., and that was great. Not one network did I see said, oh, my God, these people aren't social distancing. Not one. They covered the rally, and that's perfectly fine, and everyone's entitled to come and remember that iconic time when Martin Luther King Jr. made that speech. But how come there was no talk of, hey, these people shouldn't be here? But we went to New Hampshire, and the story was 50 to 75% of the people who are at this event aren't wearing a mask. How is this responsible for President Trump to do this? It's the total double standard. It's the total hypocrisy of the left. Hey, John, this all plays out in just less than 9 weeks. 8 weeks and 6 days from today is an election. It's the election that's going to direct the future of our country. It's the election that's going to determine, are we going to have law and order? Are we going to have mayhem and marauders? It's the election that's going to determine, are we going to stand with our men and women in the military, or are we not? It's the election, John, that's going to determine if we want economic prosperity and independence from countries like China and others, or it's the election that's going to say we want it back the way that we've had it for so long prior to the Trump administration, which is the swamp runs things. We have no say in what goes on. And so, look, John, your listeners around this country, they have to make a decision because we're at an inflection point. We really are. And I can tell you, I'm going to do everything I can in the next 8 weeks and 6 days to travel this country, to talk about the success of the first 4 years of this administration, and to let people know what's at stake for the next 4. Because if Joe Biden gets in, every person that is listening right now knows for certain he won't be running our country. He doesn't have the mental acuity to be the commander-in-chief of the greatest military the world has ever known. He doesn't have the mental acuity to run our country, which means it will be run by the far-left socialists, Kamala Harris, and whoever Joe picks as his chief of staff will be running this country, and it will turn our country backwards for years to come.
I think that a lot of people are coming to that conclusion. That's why he seized control of the narrative, and now he's gaining in every poll out there. Corey Lewandowski with us by his new book, Trump, America First, The President Succeeds Against All Odds. Corey Lewandowski, New York Times best-selling author, and you want to buy his book, Trump's Battle to Keep America Great. You can get it. Just go right on the Virginia Star website, and you can order it there. Pre-order it for when it comes out in a couple weeks. Corey, final question. Tell us about Arizona. How do we stand?
We're going to win, John. John, we're going to win Arizona. We're going to win Minnesota. We're going to win New Hampshire. I have predicted this so many times, and people laughed in my face, but I happen to know this stuff. We're going to have a bigger electoral margin in 2020 than we did in 2016. You mark my words for it, Donald Trump is going to win bigger.
Trump again winning bigger than ever. Corey Lewandowski, thanks for being with us.
Let's face it, the media, your liberal friends on Facebook, and those rioting in the streets want you to stay home on Election Day. They think your voice and even your thoughts are politically incorrect and unacceptable. Prove them wrong and go to 10for20.com now and commit to voting this November 3rd.